Hello, my name is Kenneth Blackburn, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the medieval period of music. Firstly, the medieval period general background. The medieval period can be subdivided into the early, high, and late Middle Ages, and the early medieval period is alternatively referred to as the Dark Age. The early medieval period, or Middle Ages, saw a continuation of trends from the previous era, which included population decline, a decline in trade, a small rise in average temperatures in the North Atlantic region, and increased migration. Many of the trends reversed later in the period, with Europe experiencing a return to the systematic agriculture in the form of the feudal system. Key trends in the High Middle Ages included the rapidly increasing population of Europe and the Renaissance of the 12th century. The High Middle Ages produced many forms of intellectual, spiritual, and artistic works. The age also saw a rise of ethnocentrism, which evolved later into modern national identities, the ascent of the great Italian city-states, and the rise and fall of the Islamic civilization of Al-Andalus. Around 1350, centuries of prosperity and growth in Europe came to a halt. A series of famines and plagues, I lost my place, including the Great Famine of 1315 and 1317 and the Black Death, or the bubonic plague, reduced the population of Europe to around half of what it had been before these events. Along with the population came social unrest and endemic warfare. France and England experienced serious peasant uprisings, as well as over a century of intermittent conflict in the Hundred Years' War, which lasted 116 years actually, but historians have rounded it down. To add to the many problems of the period, the unity of the Catholic Church was temporarily shattered by the Western Schism. There were two popes, one in France and one in Rome, I do believe. Despite the crisis, the 14th century was also a time of great progress in the arts and sciences. Medieval society consisted of upper, middle, and lower class constructed along feudal lines, which is the feudal system I mentioned earlier. Religion mainly consisted of Christianity, at least in Europe. Clothing at the time widely differed from men to women, as well as different classes in the social hierarchy. The second point is the medieval period of music. Medieval music encompasses sacred and secular music, and it follows. You can follow the tradition of dividing the Middle Ages. It can be divided into early, high, and late medieval music. Early music was the chant, which is a monophonic, sacred form which represents the earliest known music to the Christian Church. Chant was developed separately in several European centers such as Rome, Hispania, Gaul, Milan, and Ireland. In Spain and Portugal, Mozarabic chant was used, and it shows influence of North African music. The High Middle Ages had Galliards, which were generally young clergymen in Europe who wrote satirical Latin poetry, and they obviously sung it. Most of their poetry is secular, and while some of the songs celebrate religious ideals, others are profane, dealing with drunkenness, debauchery, and lechery. The late Middle Ages, secular music acquired a polyphonic sophistication formerly found only in sacred music. And the third point, where we had to choose songs, the first song I chose is the Lamento di Tristiano. The composer is unknown, but it's a Tuscan musical manuscript dating back to the late 14th or early 15th century, It's a sad yet beautiful piece of music. The story behind it is essentially Romeo and Juliet, with varying ways of how they get the potion and stuff like that. The second song is Marie, It Is Summer Alast. It is about the longing for summer in the face of approaching winter, or approaching cold weather, It is one of the oldest songs in the English language. To be specific, It's like Middle English, I think it was referred to as. The manuscript was found together with 2 Old French songs in a book of psalms in the Balderian Library. The author is unknown. And that's all I have. We'll see you next time. Bye.